really.
No, it looks great, especially in that light.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Guys, what's up? Welcome back to episode 6 of the After Action Review. You guys know me as the world's most okayest Green Beret, Nick Guy. And with me, I have the most handsome Green Beret of all time, Terry Schappert. Terry, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Man, this has been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yes.
I don't think I'm handsome. I think the attraction, Nick, if I may, expound on, is just it's the ruggedness. It's I just turned 54, and so as Harrison Ford says, it's not the age, it's the mileage. You can see I've lived, Nick, and that's
what I'm saying. It's like that. It's like a beautiful marbling.
By the way, okay, so let's get a couple things out. Yeah, let's get a couple things. So we're a couple of Green Berets, and just going forward, we have to say this too. In our world, we don't call each other Green Berets. We have to call each other this if people don't know who we are, right? I've had to do this my whole career because if you say I'm special operations guy, or or if you just say I'm an SF guy, we call ourselves SF, Special Forces. But if you say, oh, I'm a special forces guy, people go, oh yeah, my son was a Marine, or my cousin's a SEAL. So, nothing against those guys. But going forward, we'll probably call each other SF. So we don't say it all the time. But just so people know, we don't call each other Green Berets. We just do that so you know who we are. Right? That's a fair explanation.
That makes sense. And if I was any good at this and I could pull up like graphics or little notes to, little asterisks that say, oh, Army Special Forces, I would.
Right.
But when it comes to echoes, and you might know this, when it comes to Special Forces communication sergeants, you have radio guys and you have computer guys.
That's true.
Every echo can do, they're trained to do both, but every single one leans a certain direction. I lean towards radios. I like antenna theory. I nerd out with that stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
When it comes to computers, setting up like the SATCOM nodes,
all the network crap. Yeah.
No.
I would have thought you were, you're a young. I'd have thought you were in that kind of computer generation. when I came through the Q course, the qualification course.
The qualification.
So people know what that is. That's the Green Beret training. I was going through the 18 Delta course, which is the medical course. But our commo guys, which was the 18 Echo, the communications guys, they were learning. They were still had to test out on AMIC, Morse code. And a lot of old school radios. We even had it in the old sets. The tax. I had a medical tax set, but the commo stuff. There was those old bicycles that you could actually generate. There was Morse code.
We still have those.
You still have that? Oh, okay, cool. I saw it, but you don't. A lot of guys don't know how to do that stuff now.
No, and nowadays, like they hit you with. And it's funny because I just did change of command inventory, so I pulled everything out of my cage.
And by the other thing, if people don't know what that is such an ass pain to do that. It's so
every
painful.
Single piece of sensitive equipment out,
the worst,
laid out. But we pulled it out, and nowadays we have all those high-speed solar panels.
Yeah,
and they started off really crappy, but they've become super efficient.
Probably pretty good now. Yeah, I think they are.
But I don't know anybody who wants to pack that set. They'd rather pack the little bicycle thing because it fits in a ruck.
Yeah.
That solar panel set's like this big now.
Oh man, and it's funny. I saw it. I came in at a weird time. We'll talk about sort of that history, but it's stuff cycles back. I think you had the old school radios, and then computers were really the thing, and that goes back to that. And I think sometimes the old way, you have to know that stuff, dude. You have to know it. But I think, sometimes the old ways are the better ways, or at least you better know how to do it, because you may not have the more complicated stuff is, or sensitive or technical, a lot of times the more chance it has to break. So, that's just the way it is. And we operate in really crappy environments.
We do, but you'll know this just as well as any other SF Special Forces.
Right. Yeah.
Guy knows. I mean, if we were to ever go up against like a peer or a near peer threat, they're going to use high tech to counter our tech.
Right.
So what are we going to fall back on? The same thing that our current adversaries do. They go low tech all the time.
All the time. It is very effective.
It's hard to defeat. You cannot use technology to defeat analog or a runner.
Yeah,
that's
a
carrier pigeon.
And sometimes low tech is really good stuff, and everything changes. When I came through the Q course, I had just gotten to I was in Charlie 110. I was in the unit over there, and people even then were starting to say, the whole unconventional warfare, the whole guerrilla warfare thing is probably going away. What? Right? And then because we were a direct action unit, that's what we did, and and then I was in until 97. I got out, and then 2001, there's guys riding in on animals dressed like the locals, doing classic old school Green Beret unconventional warfare stuff. So I guess the motto should really be, not just in our world, but in anybody's world, whatever you do for a living, never say never, never say always, and never say never, because you're going to be wrong. You will sometimes have to do something, and you may never do something, but you're always going to have to, it'll always come back. So, we'll never do guerrilla warfare. No, that's BS. We probably got to get away from direct action. We need to do that too. You'll get back to all of it. It's just, you're kind of always chase the tail, and we'll never be exactly what we want, or we'll never actually have exactly what we need at any time, but you got to be able to adapt and go back and forth.
Absolutely. You said it yourself. 2001. Oh my God. We don't have a rat line system set up. Nope. We don't have airfields set up.
Nope.
We have mountains to get over. How the hell are we going to do that? And that, it was some big brain too. Like sitting in a meeting with a bunch of 1 and 2 stars, and the guy goes, "What about horses?"
They used to do that, didn't they? Used to do. The question always is, well, what do they do over there? Oh, they ride animals. Okay, cool, right? And that's another lesson in our world too. Green Berets, and we'll just call ourselves Green Berets. But if I say SF, I had to get that out of the way so that people know. But one of our biggest things is we were the only, initially special operations force, and we really still are, that was geared solely towards, the guerrilla warfare, where we would actually go somewhere, live a long time, get to know those locals, and really get the lay of the land. And one of the things that leads to success is you do things the way they do. You actually can operate using the same, tactics, techniques, and procedures. And you blend in with that, with those people, because that may be all you have. And that was really an attractive thing to me. So I don't know, I think we've talked about this. So like I was studying biology and anthropology at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. And I got bored. I switched my major at the end of my junior year. But what messed things up for me was I read a book about the Green Berets in Vietnam. It was like a Mac V. Sog book. And I borrowed it from a friend of mine. He just had it laying around. I go, oh, what's this? Okay, cool. And dude, I opened that up, Nick, and I couldn't put it down. Spent all night reading it. And of course, the missions and what these guys did, the stuff these cats accomplished was, if you haven't read anything about those guys, you need to. But what really sold it for me was the black and white pictures of them. So you see these guys with their arms around each other, black guys, white guys, Montagnards. No one cared about any of that. They just come out of the bush. They were wearing tiger stripe fatigues, cameled up with their dirty
that's such
and
a powerful aesthetic.
It's the best. Tiger stripe is the best.
Absolutely.
But they were. I remember looking at the pictures of these guys, and you're looking at this picture, realizing these guys just came out of the bush, and not all of them came out alive. And these motherfuckers are smiling.
Oh.
These guys smile at death, and I thought that's the kind of guy I wanted to be. I have to tell you, I didn't do it for patriotism. Of course, I love the country, but my goal was, I want to be that guy. I want to be that dude at the end of it, smiling at death. And so I finished college, and then I enlisted in the Army. And back then, they didn't have that X-ray program. I think that's you went through, right?
Yeah. So I'm an SF baby.
Right. But, we got a lot of good guys out of that. But like when I was in, you had to be in for a while. So I joined him as an infantry guy in the 82nd. It was great. I was in a scout platoon. So went to Ranger School. There was a really cool Recondo school at Bragg. I was in the Gulf War for 8 months. You're welcome for your freedom, Nick. You're welcome for your freedom. You'd be speaking Arabic if I had not gone in there back then when we first tried that. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank God.
And but it was it was I went to the jungle JOTC down in Panama. And And so I thought that prepped me pretty good. And then I went to selection, which is the course that we go through to see if you're qualified to even go through Green Beret training. And I wanted to be a medic. So I went to the 18 Delta course, and you know how long that was. And then I was assigned to a unit in Germany, Charlie 1st Battalion, 10 Special Forces. And then, so I'd been in almost close to 9 years, and it was the Clinton Army. It was 1997. And I thought, well, I kind of got to do I went to war technically, and we've done some cool JSETs and some NEOs in Africa and stuff like that, which was, kind of potentially combat jobs. But,
yeah,
I was like, what am I going to do this for another 11, 12 years before I retire? And I thought, I wasn't really feeling it. So I thought, what else did I like? Well, I really liked being in theater in college. So I went back to New York City. I auditioned for all these acting schools, and I got in. And so I got out of the Army in the June of 97. And by August of 97, I was in the full-time classical theater program at Circle in the Square Theater on Broadway. So that was a 2-year program. And I did all the whole bar scene. That's how I was making money, was doing all sorts of bar stuff. And then, all of a sudden 9/11 goes down, right? So I'd been out for 4.5 years, I guess. And
yeah.
Luckily, I trained a lot, stayed in shape, but I hadn't shot a gun in 4.5 years. And
New York City. There aren't really.
It's New York City.
There.
We're not really allowed to have them, and it's just like, And I thought to myself, what do? Do I go on auditions or get back in the fight? So it was kind of an easy thing. I didn't want to go active duty because I kind of thought maybe I can do both, because I knew, I went through all the training with guard guys. We laughed at them because we thought, you guys suck. You're not going to really do anything. And next thing I know, it's changed. Yeah. So then, October 01, I'm back in the Army and in Alpha 219. And I was there from October 01 to October 2016. And during that time too, I was still living in the beginning, I was still living in Manhattan doing theater. And I moved out of the city. I'd gotten married. I know, dude. Shut up. Don't judge me, Nick.
I'm sorry, man.
This is what makes me so interesting. And then my first big break was in like 08. I hosted a show on History Channel called Warriors. And then I did Shark Week and a survival show called Dude, You're Screwed on Discovery. And the whole time I'm doing all this crap, I'm still, training and deploying as an SF guy. And then I became a team sergeant, meaning I was the senior rank and enlisted guy. And I was a team sergeant for like my last 5 years there. So, and now I host a show on Outdoor Channel called Hollywood Weapons, which the 4th season premieres in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
I teach diving for a special operations charity called Task Force Dagger. And the last two. Great group, man. Anybody who's listening that's in our community and you want to get involved in this, please do. The last 2 summers we spent in Saipan. We're excavating a World War II, a Hellcat wreck that was shot down 75 years ago. It's been underwater for 75 years. We're going to bring him home, his remains home, using wounded vets. So I don't make money on that. That's a passionate thing. So
that's awesome.
So, hey, enough about how cool I am.
I mean, well, that's a lot to unpack. First of all, everybody wants to know, and by everybody, I mean me, were you just not good enough to get into the actor's studio?
I didn't really apply there, yeah. It would be everybody actor's dream though to sit across from him and go, yeah. Well,
he just sits there. He's got a stack of note cards this high, and he's got the most ridiculous accent. He's an American, by the way. I think he likes to pretend that he's British. And
no, he's not. He's not far. Yeah, he's an American guy.
Yeah.
No, I picked Circle in the Square actually because it was a classical theater school, and I thought I didn't want to go, hey, dude, I want to be an actor and move to LA. I was really interested in being a classically trained theater guy, and it was a great program. And I finished that in the end of 99. And so I had a couple years before, the war kicked out and I came back in. So it was a kind of a weird life. I will tell you though, that, the one thing about our community is we got guys with all sorts of crazy ass backgrounds.
Oh, yeah.
At first it seems completely not like it's not going to work. Like there isn't a dude that's been on any team that hasn't been able to contribute something based on a thing they did outside of their life.
I think
the guard guys, especially, man, with all these different weird careers.
I mean, you're absolutely right. And the careers that people either came from before they came to SF, or if you're in the guard, what you're currently working, it is fascinating. I went through training, and then the guy's at 3rd group right now.
Yeah,
he was in Manhattan too. and he was making bank working for Bear Stearns.
Of course. Wow. Yeah.
And he saw the writing on the wall.
Really?
And he was like, uh-oh, I better get out of Dodge.
No shit?
Yeah. So he enlisted in the Army, went to the 82nd.
Yeah.
Became a sniper, did the whole Solder City gambit.
Yeah, man. And,
And then he went to selection, and I went through the Q course with him. He's a funny guy, but he's a Wharton grad. And it's just an E6 Wharton grad who was the only one at Bear Stearns to be, have the foresight and be intelligent enough to get out before the Fed swooped in.
That's unbelievable, dude.
It's an incredible story.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, and there was a guy, Andy Human is his name. If he's listening, his nickname was Face. He had a PhD in physics. We had guys that were just, and another thing too, it's not even just special forces. People are always. It's funny, man. Some of the smartest guys I ever met were just in the infantry, and a lot of people slag on infantry guys and say, "Oh, a bunch of rocks." I disagree. I think some of the smartest guys I've ever met and most interesting dudes I ever met and great problem solvers were in the Army infantry, because I don't know. It's just I picked that job. I wasn't an idiot. I mean, I'm an idiot, but I mean, like, I wanted to do that. And the thing is, too, everybody who goes there now, really, this isn't like Vietnam where you're drafted and next you're carrying a gun in Vietnam. You pick the job, and so you sign up for what you're going to get into. I wanted to be a gunfighter. I wanted to eventually go into the Green Berets, but like that. So the guys who are there want to be there generally. It's not everybody's a rocket scientist, but no, there's not a lot of retarded people.
No, and there are
infantry.
No, there's not. That's the nature of the job, though. An infantry,
right.
In the infantry, you have to know a lot. A lot of support jobs are pretty. I'm not ragging on anybody, but there's a lot of support jobs that are very focused.
Right. Well, and the thing is too, there's not a lot of times those kind of jobs, while necessary and good on you if that's your thing. But the thing is with infantry is that you're constantly having to solve problems. There's always stuff being put in your way to get in the way of what you got to do. I don't even care if it's like crappy weather or a vehicle breaks down or you name it, man. Something always goes wrong and something's never what it's supposed to be based on intelligence and the reconnaissance. And you have to actually come up with a way you can't go, this is not going to work. We can't do it. You get it done. And so I think, anyway, that whole myth about infantry people being stupid is just absolute bullshit. It's bullshit.
It is. And when, like I said, I was an SF baby. So I went through Benning and I went through infantry OSIT and go through with a bunch of, and they are kids. I was older. I went to college too before I enlisted. And most of my buddies that I became close with were in the same boat. But I mean, you have 18, 19-year-old kids who they didn't have to be putting up with this bullshit. They didn't, but they wanted to. And so they'll always have my undying respect, honestly.
Yes.
Because it is a shit job. It's a great job, but it's a shit job.
It's the best job, but it's a shit job. And the other thing is, too, you hear all these people slagging on millennials and people younger. You guys call me a boomer, which I'm kind of on the cusp, dude. I'm like, a year earlier. If I was born in 1964, I'd be a boomer. So I'm close. Don't shut up. But I mean, I think also when people say all these young kids, we're always going to have studs. I believe this in my heart that we're always going to have studs that separate themselves from the crowd out there and will pick up the sword and go for it. I just think we will. We're always going to have that kind of sort of warrior class of guys that want to be something a little bit different. And so,
I hope so.
Yeah, I do. I mean, you're right. I mean, I've talked to recruiters before that say that one of my friends is an SF. He's an SF recruiting command. He hates it because it's no fun. But he even said some of that stuff's interesting. You're getting guys now with bad attitudes, maybe, and just the recruiting pool, from what I understand, guys coming in the Army is like kids are like breaking their femurs under rucksacks because they're just not. A lot of them spend most of their formative years playing video games and not doing it. I mean, I played in the dirt all the time, and you probably did too. And I was an athlete in high school and college, so I don't know, man. The point is, there's always going to be people, I think, that they'll do what you and I did and go, it's going to draw. You come to us, which is cool. You know, that's the thing. No one's gonna reach out and grab you, and now you're this unwitting and unsuspecting infantry guy. You actually come find us, you know, and then once you're in the Army, you come find special forces. You come find us. The guys come and find us are going to be, they already are a little bit different.
They're motivated.
They are motivated.
This just came to me. I have a great idea.
What is it?
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to solve the SF Recruiting Command's problems right now using your own origin story.
How do you figure?
Just go with me.
I'm listening.
You and I are going to get kitted up in that powerful aesthetic tiger stripe, and we're going to take black and white photos, put them in all of the textbooks, and inspire the next generation just as you were. Except
it worked for me.
That's what I'm saying.
By the way, I've been out on I've done stuff in the last few years too where I was wearing tiger stripes. There's pictures out there of me wearing tiger stripes.
I know there is.
And it's the coolest uniform, man. It just goes back to a different time.
It is. Jamie, can we pull up that photo of Terry and Tiger Stripe? Oh, that's right. I don't have an assistant.
I was just going to – by the way, I actually bit. I was like, this motherfucker does not have an assistant. You almost surprised. Okay, I'm on to you now, Nick.
Hold on. God, I don't want to call you a boomer, but if you didn't get the reference – that's a Joe Rogan Experience reference. The Joe Rogan podcast? No?
I don't watch it. No, I don't watch it.
You should.
No, he's great.
That'll keep you young, though.
I've seen tweaks of it. I've seen pieces of it, but I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing. I think he's great. Joe Rogan's fantastic.
Have you ever tried DMT?
No. Is it good?
I don't know, but Joe loves it. He loves it.
I need something, dude, because I kind of struggle with depression. So, I mean, like, I heard those things are good now. Like, even like sort of very controlled doses of like hallucinogenics like LSD and mushrooms.
Super low doses of LSD.
Super low dose, not the like, oh my God, my face is melting, but this music is cool dose. Which is by the way. But like ones where you can actually function and move along. I should look into that maybe. Yeah, I think Joe Rogan's great. And he's about my age. I think he's maybe a couple years younger than me, but he's great, man. How can I
man. But yeah, he's got his assistant Jamie who just pulls up all the stuff, and he does all the things that I don't know how to do for a podcast. So I should probably, you know what? I'm just going to put it out. Unpaid internship to run my podcast.
Someone will do it, Nick. Someone will do it.
Absolutely.
To get exposed and talk to people like us? Come on.
First off, some of your ruggedness is bound to rub off on them.
Come on.
I mean, look at you. You're smoking a pipe. I mean, that's like something that I wish I could do. But if I start smoking a pipe at 30, I'm just a weirdo.
I started smoking a pipe when I was 18, but I didn't make it public. I was just like, I'm not smoking weed, the actual tobacco pipes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Man.
All because of Lord of the Rings, by the way. That's
it? Gandalf?
More Aragorn. I think more Aragorn. It's funny about the Lord of the Rings. Someone was asking me about this the other day. I get called. I read those books constantly. I actually read them sometimes when I go to sleep because it'll just make it. I know them so well that I'll just pick up and thumb and go, oh, I know where I am now. But I think it sounds really. I read a lot. I'm a big reader. I like having books, and I've always read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy and stuff growing up. And the Lord of the Rings, man, when I read that, it really changed. It was formative. And actually, the Rangers and the good versus evil, and living in a harsh environment and fighting, for a good cause. I'm not exaggerating when I say the Lord of the Rings was actually very formative in my life. It really it teaches you also that, you do have to pick a side. You do have to pick a side. And there's good and bad, there's good and evil, and you got to pick a side because no matter what, it's going to come. And also, I thought when you actually step back from Lord of the Rings and you see all the different characters that at some point give something to it that without that effort, the whole thing would have failed. And it's just a great book. I mean, it's actually considered one book. Tolkien called it one book. It's in 3 books, but I'm a total Lord of the Rings nerd. Dude, I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, not the computer stuff, the tabletop.
On the tabletop?
Dude, I'm looking for, if anybody's listening, I want to get a game going here in the Outer Banks or in Raleigh. Dude, I love that shit. I grew up.
You know what? My current civilian job, I'm with a bunch of accountants. That's the job I work. I'm not an accountant, but that's the job I work.
Yeah, because you're not. I know you're not, right?
No,
yeah.
I study political science and international relations, and I got what we called a concentration, which was I was too lazy to get an additional minor, so the concentration was like a minor plus in professional writing.
Shade. It was a shade.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little flavor enhancer.
Yeah.
But that's the job I work. Is basically, when you boil it down, it's forensic accounting, and most of those people are older, but the few young people, they're all into these tabletop games.
Really?
And I have desperately so want a friend at work, but they're not very socially mature. Like, they're very inward.
Yeah.
And every time I try to interject myself into their lives to gain,
they just shut down.
They shut down. I'm like, hey, what do you guys do? What are you doing this weekend, man? He goes, oh, we're gonna be playing some tabletop. And I'm like, dude, I've never played. I would love to play some tabletop. Do you guys drink? I'll bring some beer. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of a close-knit group of friends. And
really? They wouldn't.
Yeah. And then I'm the kid in the cafeteria that doesn't have a place to sit.
That's fucked up, dude. Like, I would think they'd be pretty excited to have you.
Like,
do they know? Obviously, they know what you did, or what they know what you do, right? They know your other side.
They know I'm in the Army.
Do they? That's all they know. Do they know you're a special forces guy?
Well, they're not super interested. Like I said, they're not super interested in anybody else's lives. Like, my bosses know, obviously, what I.
Well, they hired you.
It's
right,
on my resume,
They hired you, yeah.
Yeah.
That's weird, man. That's really weird.
I know. And then
that's not a United States culture thing? Is that a culture for that kind of job, you think? Or is it like, are people kind of going that way where they're like a little more withdrawn in their own little thing?
I don't know. I hope not, because I would love a friend at work. I would.
Damn, dude, that makes me sad, man.
I know, man.
Because you're a funny motherfucker. Like,
I'd like to think that I'm a lot of fun. Like, listen, I'll bring the beer, man. You guys can teach me all about your tabletop games.
They're so much fun too. Like having a bunch of really fun guys, dude. Because I was a jock. I was two things in high school. I was a jock and a D&D nerd. Seriously, I was both. So like, I was the really talented jock that wasn't getting laid because I was playing Dungeons and Dragons all weekend. Seriously. So like, but it's so much. But you know what? Think about this. I started getting into D&D and I was reading Tolkien back, and I was like, 6th grade, 7th grade. As an 8th grader or young high schooler, I was reading books on medieval governments, on Greek mythology, all because all these sort of things kind of come into the D&D world. So like, I was reading things on philosophy and a lot of historical stuff. And of course, when you read and you have to communicate, not via typing, but talk to people and lay the story out and you role play the different things. I mean, it's actually really useful because I thought it developed my vocabulary. I think it helps you communicate. I mean, I really can't say enough good things about them if you get the right people. I cannot believe you have not been invited, dude. You'd be perfect.
I wish my coworkers had learned all of those valuable life lessons that you had learned playing D&D.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Because it also does it. Sometimes it attracts people like that, but like, it turned me into an idiot like this. So it's like,
I guess I'm just gonna have to like learn the game on my own and enter like tournaments and build clout and become like a major player in the competitive world of Dungeons and Dragons.
But it's not really like that. If it is like that, then it's the wrong thing. It's not the right way. It's not supposed to be that. It's really,
so
really
you're telling
fun.
me I cannot become the bad boy of the D&D world?
No, I think you could. And if anybody could, Nick, I think you could do this. I have to say, you could be the bad boy of the D&D world.
Like, yeah, man, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
I'm rolling a 20-sided dice, motherfucker.
I could wear a duster with like studs, like a studded duster. Yeah, man.
Big arm bracers.
Yes, like just leather and.
I actually have some, but somewhere around here. Yeah.
Oh man, I would imagine.
That's such a bummer that you at work, like, because, think about this too. That's an interesting thing, because you and I talked about this the other day. What I miss the most. I mean, I've been out for 3 years, right? October 2016, I got out. And what I miss more than anything is not the cool shit we did, because we do a lot of cool stuff. We do a lot of stupid shit because it is the Army, but what I miss is the guys. Those guys are such good. I can't tell people, I have a hard time conveying to people how the whole thing centers around a team. And it's not that everybody loves each other all the time, because guys get on each other's nerves, and that's normal. But holy crap, the funniest, best moments would go on when we're suffering the most. And I thought that's what I miss the most, not being in the Army, is not being in special forces. My body's really hurt. I got a lot of injuries and stuff like that. But look, dude, I'm lucky. We got friends who don't have legs, and we got guys who never came back. So I'm not complaining at all. Please don't get that. But what I miss the most though is I miss the love. I miss the friendship and the camaraderie and the family, because we really are a family. It's weird that I think, going back to your point, in the kind of civilian world you live in, I guess it's kind of hard maybe to get that in a lot of those jobs. For one reason, there's no life or death stressors, right?
No.
What when you and I go into the team room, what job can replace the idea that when you walk into your office, the team room, everybody in there will fucking kill for you? Everybody. Yeah. And of course, everybody expects you to kill for them. And everybody in that room will die for you, and everybody in that room expects you to die for them. There is no good luck finding that in any civilian job. Even a professional athlete, football players don't have to die for each other. No. So I mean, it's close because it's a lot of physical bonding and a lot of, but like combat, that glues you together. It's does. Awesome, actually. And I miss that. I miss that every day. I miss it every day.
That is tough. Because you don't find that anywhere else. Even in a part-time team. I'm Uncle Nick to all my teammates' kids.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm over there for birthdays and barbecues, and it is a family. And with the family, you have issues. People, it's not like your friends. Wrong, dude. You get to choose your friends, right? They say you get to choose your friends, you don't get to choose your family. It's the same way in a team.
Yeah,
you're assigned a team.
That's good. That's true.
And if Team Daddy likes you, you stay, and if he doesn't, your shit's out in the hallway. But
there's always going to be personality conflict, and some guys just don't. But the other thing is that you can't, as far as performance goes, you can't hide on a team, right? You can't hide on a team. So
there's no gray man on the team.
There's not. You can hide. You can hide through selection. You can hide through the Q course. Although I think the instructors, by and large, do a pretty good job of seeing that, because they all come from teams, so but they have a lot to deal with. So you can't have a guy slip through. We've all met them, and who shouldn't be there. It's not that he's not skilled or good. He shouldn't be on the team. But you can't. Once you get on a team, you can't hide on a team. You cannot hide on a team. So and that's the same way I've heard high level combat athletes. That you can't hide on the mat. You can't hide in the ring. You can hide everywhere else, but when you're on a team, you know pretty quickly if the dude is the right guy or not, if he cares more about the team than he cares about himself. And if you ever have guys like that on the team that are selfish and are kind of cancers, and they don't last very long. They'll go somewhere else. We'll send them up to the B team, or they'll send them. They just won't be around because we just don't have time, right? We actually we're very forgiving guys. If you fuck up on a team, we're very forgiving. What we don't have, I think, what we're very not tolerant of, are guys that lie to you and also just don't pull their weight and just think it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, because our business is a serious one. It's going to war, and oftentimes it's going to war without a whole lot of support. So who do you rely on?
Right.
Your 11 best friends beside you.
Well, and it kind of brings the point, you and I sort of chatted about this when it was going on, and we'll touch it quickly, I guess. The thing with the pardon of Matt Goldstein, I never knew Matt, but guys who were in my unit worked with him and could not say enough good things about him. They loved him. They said he was a great guy. And, he did what he had to do. He made mistakes. He told the CIA when he was applying, that's a bad idea. And he talked about it. But it was interesting when Trump, but you know what though? When Trump pardoned him, there were guys from our community that were just flaming him. And I thought, that's weird because, And one guy was saying something like, his tab was revoked by the regiment. And yeah, you're right. That's true. But my loyalty isn't really to the regiment is this nebulous thing up here. Everything that keeps me alive and is this little 12-man team right here. And so I don't think it's tough talk. And it's not because I'm not a tough guy. I'm kind of a wuss, but I really say this. If you're not willing to cut somebody's throat to protect the team, to save the team, then you're not in the right line of work. You're really not. And I'm not saying that in a chest thumping way.
No.
I think right? I feel like that. And what happened with Goldstein was he did what he had to do. I guarantee all the guys on his team I would be surprised if any of them disagreed with that. And so a lot of these guys that are saying, screw him, he should be fucked. I dare you to go into a team room and say that because maybe I'm wrong. But I just don't think that will fly. I don't think it'll fly.
It's the reality of war, though. It's the reality of combat. There's nothing else in life that's comparable. So everybody that's on the outside looking at a situation like that, they have no reference in which to frame the information that they've just been given.
And those people, I don't really care. I don't care what they think. I really don't give a shit. I was just surprised at some of the really backlash from people in the military community. And again, I don't know everything about it. I can't say that. But the guys who I respect, who I've relied on and to keep me alive, said nothing but good things about him. And we're weird like that in special forces. We're very clannish. Like if a team is a very insulated thing, and just like the groups will talk shit about the groups, but within the group, a battalion will talk shit about a battalion, a company will talk shit about that. Teams will talk shit about teams.
Absolutely.
All the time. We're very clannish, right? It goes in these concentric circles. And the most unimportant circle to me is the regiment. I don't even know those people. Maybe I knew them in the past, but like, they're not the ones that are on the life and death situation and on the ground in front of me right then. So I don't know. That kind of bothered me. And, the woke stuff, which, there's Green Beret Twitters. You guys, it's so much fun being on Twitter with you guys, like you and Red. And by the way, your interview with Red was fantastic. I want to talk about.
Thank you.
I want to.
He was really easy to interview, though. Plus,
I've talked to him before, and
he's also like the rarest of the rare. Like that. Yeah. If officers were steaks, he's a Pittsburgh rare. Like that thing has only been on the griddle for about 12 seconds on each side and it's off. Yeah. Like that's how unusual
he gets it. He really gets it. He gets it. And I can't imagine that guy going anywhere and not being really loved and respected because you can just tell. He knows what he's doing and he's tough. He's a dive guy. But he also understands how the whole team thing works. And guys like that, again, we'll go to hell for you. Guys like that are great. But the woke dudes, here's what bothers me about the woke vets, which we all kind of go in that. And there's guys in our community who are kind of little wokey these days. Yeah. And that's fine. So here's what I say about that. If you may have been a liberal or a left-wing guy before you came into special forces or the Army. By the way, the regular military, I can't talk about them because I'm going to be probably hung for this. But that's more of a normal job than what we do. Like
I would agree.
I'm talking, and they would admit that. I'm talking about the combat military guys who sign up to go. We're going to get in a fight. Infantry guys, armor, artillery, SF guys on the ground that are going to be looking at somebody. Okay, so that's the different military. If you were a left-wing person before you got into that line of work, that's fine. If you were a left-wing person during that, that's fine. And you can be a left-wing person now, but what you can't look me in the eye and tell me is that those left-wing principles were used to operate that kind of unit in a combat situation. So that's the thing that bothers me. I don't care if you even were a lefty in the infantry. I guarantee a platoon is not run according to those principles. It cannot be because combat, we've just acknowledged, combat is the most stark of realities. And that's not, again, chest thumping. It just, trust me, it really is. You can't color it with, I don't believe that. I don't think that. It is what it is.
No. I told you before.
Right.
Distilled human history, 40,000 years of human history, 99.9999% of it was combat.
It's combat.
It was. And if that's not a stark reality of what it takes to survive,
right,
and evolve and
thrive
and become this incredible world that we've created for ourselves. But
and the combat sometimes, the combat isn't even necessarily. Yeah, you're totally right. And the combat isn't even necessarily man versus man. It's really kind of you versus nature. The way I look at nature is nature's there for one reason. That's to fucking kill you. It will. That's all it's there for. It's impassionate. It doesn't care. It's not beautiful. It's beautiful, but it's also cruel and doesn't give a shit. So like the left-wing guys that are kind of coming out, it's okay. Like if you're listening to this and you're a left-wing person, that's cool. I really don't mind. But you're not going to be able to look me in the eye and tell me that those left-wing, politically correct, emotionally driven sort of, this is how I wish the world should be stuff. It is not, you cannot run a combat unit like that. And combat, we agree, is the starkest of realities. Hence, left-wing principles are not really grounded in reality. They work in a certain contained environment, but if you actually take all the controls away and all the constructs away, there's only this. There's only black and white death and combat. And so the woke guys that are come from combat, they bother me the most, because it's like, dude, you wouldn't say that when you were in the infantry. You wouldn't run a team like that. It's okay that you're like that now. It really is. I don't care. It's all good. But the left-wing guys that are like, dude, you didn't talk like that when you were in. You might have felt that way. That's fine. But you didn't run a platoon like that. You didn't run a team like that. There's no way, because you can't.
It's because when we look at those left-wing principles, and they're nice thoughts. Respect, impassioned defense of the weakest and the lowliest, and this empathy.
I'm all about that.
That's great. But it doesn't work in Syria. It doesn't work fighting ISIS. It doesn't work trying to make a deal with what we called sand pirates, because that's what they were. They didn't have ships. They had minivans, and they were running guns and drugs and humans. And the only thing that they understood was the threat of violence or cold hard cash. You cannot bring those principles into situations like that. You're absolutely correct. And if you run a team that way, that ODA is either one, going to get super, super fucked up.
Yeah.
In the form of dead guys.
They won't get out the door.
Or they're going to be pulled out of country because they were just not being effective in their area of responsibility. And guys I'll stand by that.
Yeah, guys in our world don't think that way. They really don't think. You put it this way. I don't care what you think. Guys in our world can't act like that. You can't, on a team, you're not going to promote somebody because he's black. You're going to promote somebody because he's good. And because of that, we have another thing too. I don't know. I'm curious on your take on this. So, I'm D-list cable celebrity. So I do shows and stuff like that. So I'm worth a different crowd, but they're pretty cool. They know I'm a little bit salty. But, I've told people before, if you stepped into a team room, you would think we are all the biggest dicks, like the biggest racists, the biggest homophobes, the biggest, like the worst people ever. But we're really not, because we mock each other, just incessantly. And we cut because we love each other. See, political correctness is a construct. So in our world, there is no such thing. So we can call each other things. We can say things to each other that would be completely beyond the pale in the civilian world. But in our world, it's totally okay. And you'll get it right back. If you do it, you get it right back. You can't be that way in your job, can you?
No. No. If women want to join the Special Forces Regiment, they better be prepared for when they walk in that team room and the things that they hear. It's going to be shocking to them.
But maybe it won't. But it depends on. But I think it will. Even in the infantry, I can't imagine.
I don't know how it works, because I haven't talked to an infantryman that has a female in the unit. I know there are.
That's what I'm saying. I don't either. This was a big topic a few years ago. I was, they always bring you in on Fox and shit to talk about what's going on. And I said, look, man, I go, there are women out there. I've met them. There are women who can physically do what we do. Not that many. Just because you're good at CrossFit doesn't mean you can do what we do, because the sheer carrying 100-pound, the physical stuff we do is not a gym thing. But there are women who could do it. There are a small amount who could do it. Not very many. But my other thing is, the problem is you're dealing with a bunch of really, really high testosterone guys. And that person would have to be very special to fit in. And I'm not saying they couldn't, but also, let's not kid each other. Men and women like to have sex. And so that stuff, when you and the same thing when the whole gay thing was in the 90s, I think there's been some guys that I've been with over time that might have been gay, but it was never even an issue because no one talked about it and really nobody cared. As soon as you start introducing sexuality as a thing, like this is a thing. I'm a woman, you're a man, or I'm a gay man, when that gets introduced, it will fragment everything, because it just turns, it has no place in the combat world. And again, I'm old school. Maybe society, it will change. Blame it on men. I just don't think men could make the adjustment and not be able to look dispassionately and without any kind of feeling towards a woman, even if she's like big and strong and all that. I just think that kind of shit just gets involved. And experience in regular units bears this out with all sorts of fraternization and stuff like that. And it becomes, now the unit's spending time dealing with that. We don't really have time to deal with that. We don't
have time to already do the shit that we need to do.
We don't have enough time anyway. We're not going to have a separate bathroom for you or a separate shower stall. It's just not going to happen. That's what's great about SF. We get to hang out with hot, naked guys all the time.
All the time. And guess what? We're just going to dig that slit trench, and you're just going to – you're squatting over it with you and your best buddy. Hey,
it is what it is.
If you want some extra stability, just reach out. You guys can hold on to each other.
Maybe society will change, but I think that could be – I don't know. I just see problems with that because, again, the people pushing it, I don't think – in general, have our best interests at heart. I just don't really think they do, and so that's why I'm very suspicious of.
Well, I don't think the military should ever be used as a petri dish and as a barometer for social change and social justice, or whatever you want to call it. Progress. There are other organizations that can do that, but the business of the military is far too vital to dick around. It is.
Yeah, I mean, that's stuff
not
is
the place.
No,
an ODA preparing to go to war is not the unit that you should be introducing a female to say, I wonder how this will work out.
Right. Because it is, like it or not, it is what it is. Blame us, but it's a distraction. And I think there's enough stuff to occupy your attention than sexual politics. And I don't know, man. We'll talk about something else, but this is something and again, like the people who I see really pushing this, I don't know, man. I just don't think, I think most of them don't have our best interests at heart. Maybe some of them do. I think some of them are coming it from, hey, this is better for us and all that. My real world experience would say that's not the case.
That's fair.
I don't know. I might be right. I might be wrong. Who am I? I'm already old anyway. I'm running out of runway, Nick. I mean, I only got a couple years left, so
it's all right. I'm calling the concrete company. We're expanding that runway.
Very nice of you. Very nice.
Yeah, I got you. Don't worry. I'll get you on a program in the gym. Everybody knows that you are soft and flabby, and there's totally not a photo of you on the internet wearing James Bond style swim trunks and you starfishing on the back of some boat. Everybody knows that's all Photoshop, and
that's all fake. None of that was real.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's the other thing, man. Like, all right, you're not a boomer. You're 54. Mm-hmm. Or you just turned, or
I just turned 54 last week. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you.
But you stay hard to kill.
Yeah, I mean, try to. Yeah, try to.
I mean, but that's it. You're still rolling, right? You're rolling.
Yeah. I mean, I do that,
you're staying hard to kill. Why is that so hard nowadays? You don't see this anymore.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know why it's hard. Well, again, it's a societal thing. Maybe if you don't feel like And again, I don't long for the bad old days when people died when they were age 40 and typhus would come and wipe out a
I do. I want off this ride, baby.
Yeah.
I want off.
But that is kind of a great equal. I mean, you think about the way people used to just live, how just harder they were mentally and physically. I think, you know, when you I was in the game for a long time, and so you had to. There were guys I saw that would let themselves go, and that was not, and you're not respected for that. Like, you have to. I used to tell guys too, it's not what you were, it's what you are. So it doesn't matter if I was the baddest motherfucker 5 years ago. What am I right now? Am I out of shape? Am I soft? Am I a potential liability? And then when you become a leader, you become a team sergeant. Well, then, dude, you can't get fat. You can't get out of shape. You know, I have to. If I don't beat these guys, I have to either come equal to them or be chasing right behind them.
Right there, yeah.
I got to be right there. Yeah, I can't be. And so it was a lot of peer pressure is a good thing. So peer pressure gets a bad rap, but in our world, peer pressure is good because you look to the left and right and you're like, okay, I don't want to be the last guy on this run.
Yeah.
I don't want to be right. I don't want to be the guy who can't carry this when I'm supposed to carry it. So peer pressure is a hugely important driving force in our world. And I just think once you become, I try to always stay. When I had that break between active duty and the guard, you know, I still trained. I did martial arts and stuff like that. I stayed in shape physically, even though I wasn't doing, you know, cool guy army stuff. Once it becomes a lifestyle, it helps. I think it's harder for people who never were there to get into it. So I actually respect people a lot who were never really particularly fit or athletic and find it later in their life to do that, because it's much easier to get out of shape than it is it's much easier to get into shape, and it's easy to get out of shape than it is to get there. So the best thing is to try not to let it slip too much. I go through periods like probably every guy's like, there's sometimes I don't care as much. I'm not training as much, or I don't really care. So, you know, you're not as ripped, but like, then I just catch myself and go, oh, dude, okay, I guess I got to stop eating bread for a couple of days. So it's little stupid shit like that, but it is. And also it's vanity too. Like I also think it's important. And again, this is maybe the mentality that guys like us have. I always want I'm always sizing people up when I'm out somewhere. Not in a paranoid way, but I mean, I did that even when I was working in the bars while I was in the Army. I always sized guys up objectively, and like, could this guy give me a problem? Right? Does this guy look like, does he carry himself like he knows that he like he's tough? And by the way, never underestimate anybody, never underestimate because they're small or whatever. Sometimes you can just tell by looking at a guy's eyes. My point is, I think I don't care. I'm 54 now, you know, when I'm 64, I want some young punk to go, I probably don't want to fuck with that guy. You know, like there's other people I could fuck with. Like, I don't want to fuck with that guy because I think, again, if you portray that, it's just better off, man. Like, if you actually, because it just comes from inside. When you can handle yourself, people can look at you. That doesn't mean someone's not going to do it. It doesn't mean someone's going to.
No, but it might give them a moment for pause.
Right. And sometimes that's all you need. So I think you do. And it's kind of your responsibility, you know, like I don't have children or anything, but like, you know, it's kind of to the people around you, you may be the one that is the defender. And so I think there's a lot of people walking around right now in our society that really have no idea how to defend themselves, no idea what it's like to get punched in the face, no idea to suffer real physical deprivation like food and water and comfort and sleep. And I think, I don't know, man, again, I'm not trying to say battle days, but I think that's another thing the Army gives us is it gives you a place where you've been beaten so badly that, you know, when you come back again, first of all, you appreciate it, but you're just a lot tougher for it. And people can see that. And I think a lot of guys now, I notice a lot of people that are pretty soft. And I also know a lot of people who were never in the military that could totally whip my ass. And so it doesn't have to be a military thing. It's just, there's a certain way of looking at the world where it's like, I kind of always got to be ready, because when I'm not ready is when I'm going to get caught. You know?
Man, you really need to be like running a boot camp or something.
I'm still bummed out though. I'm still bummed out that you need a friend at work. That hurts me.
Listen, man, like
that hurts. That really bothers me, dude.
Never in my life have I ever had a problem making friends. Never.
No, dude, that's the least of your problems.
And that's a huge must-have personality trait in SF too. You have to be able to make your job.
You got to play well with others.
Yes, and you have to make friends. And you might have to make friends with somebody that you're like, I don't want to be this guy's friend.
I don't like this guy.
I don't like this guy, but I'm going to have to be his friend. I have to be Ahmed's friend.
You're totally right. You're totally right.
But that's the thing. I've never had an issue with this until this job.
God damn it, dude.
It's just, it's bad, man. I say I work with an office full of, I'd say the majority of the people I work with are in their 60s.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And like all the people my age, they're in the department beneath, and I'm not about that life. And so I say I work with a bunch. I work with a bunch of women that remind me of my great aunt. And
is that right? That's funny.
It's uncanny. And then a few young people in there, I just have no connection.
Do you think any of them are any of them going to be watching this? Did I even know you have this?
No, they don't. They couldn't even have me over for a D&D night, Terry. They're not going to dig into my online life.
Absolutely. So that's absolutely fucking sad, man.
Unless, God, I hope they see this and they feel bad. You know what? If they're listening,
I hope they feel bad. I hope
they're
like this Nick guy sounds like he's having a really nice character. We should probably invite him over for D&D.
And he's going to bring the beer.
Could I say something about the whole G thing and being friends with someone you don't like? That's another thing, since you and I have talked politics quite a bit. The whole never Trump thing. I'm going to swing back to this.
Please do.
This is what
we're running dialogue.
It's a running dialogue. It's not an interview. It's a conversation. So The thing is that, right. I get, look, let's talk about Trump. I'm from New York, so I know who he is. Okay. So that's another thing. So I know exactly the kind of guy he is. He is a ruthless, thin-skinned, ego-driven business guy. I know who he is. He doesn't really matter, right? He's going to be gone in a year or another 5, probably 5. But my thing is, if you're a left-wing person, then of course there's no way you want him as a president, and you got to get him gone. I get it. That's fine. But the people who are the constant never Trumpers, and we have guys like that in our community who are constantly. They're mad all the time about. Like, I'm enjoying the creative destruction that Trump is doing to these establishments.
It's fun. It's new.
It's fun. Like it's actually
new.
Fun. It's new and it's different, and it hasn't happened before. And the other thing is too, I look at Trump. If you're a conservative, meaning, and here's the conservative definition. So for me, as a conservative is someone who wants to run the country in accordance with the Constitution, meaning a small federal government, right? So minimum government, maximum individual freedom. I'd like a strong, discrete border that we can control and figure out who's coming in. I do want a strong national defense because there's wolves everywhere. I want a strong, sort of free trade, a capitalist economy. And I just want people to leave me the fuck alone, right? I want to be able to make decisions. That's a conservative, right? So if you're a conservative, but you're a never Trumper, I don't understand why you're that mad at him all the time. Because I liken Donald Trump to a G chief. So one of our things is we work downrange with, if people don't know, and during the course they're called guerrilla chiefs, right? The guerrillas. But when you're in Iraq or Afghanistan, they're not necessarily guerrillas, but you're working with local guys. And our job, like I've worked with guys overseas that I knew were bad people, right? You could tell by looking at these cats. I called them the reptiles. They had that look in their face like these people have probably raped people, they've probably killed kids, and they're not going to break a sweat. We've had to work with them and get stuff out of them. So my job on a Green Beret A team is not to clutch my pearls and go, I can't work with this guy. He's a fucking killer. He's bad. Oh my God. He doesn't pay attention to any norms. He's just so bad. He's gross. He's a liar. He's full of crap. I can't do that. My job is to get what I can out of him in accordance with foreign policy directives from the government. So if you're a conservative, I look at Trump as the guerrilla chief. We're like, look, I don't have to like him. I don't have to even trust him. I don't have to care about him at all. But I need to be able to advise, cajole, threaten. I need to steer him in the way I want him to go. And if he goes that way without any of those things, then I'm just kind of let him go. That's good. And I'll keep him in his lane, right? So like my only problem with Trump I'll ever have is if he tries to do something unconstitutional, which President Obama did multiple times. The Affordable Care Act was unconstitutional. DACA was unconstitutional. So withholding documents on
using
right?
the IRS to target political opponents.
He used the IRS, right? Right. So what I'm saying is I don't understand. I can understand a never Trumpers not digging Trump and think he's a shitty person, but take a deep breath, enjoy the creative destruction of all these people who've gotten over on us for all this time, and just watch him in his lane. If he starts drifting, you put him back in. As long as he stays within the Constitution, I don't care if he's a carnival barker. Like, I don't really care. And it's actually really entertaining to see people lose their collective shit over this guy. I tweeted something the other day. We joke on Twitter. I tweeted something like, hey, you know, I soldiered on under Obama for 8 years, you know, even though I didn't vote for him. I didn't cry in the street. I didn't throw rocks. I didn't call him illegitimate. I didn't tell half the country that they should die. And I didn't tell my friends to go to hell. I behaved like an adult citizen in a federal republic. Try it. And most people are like, dude, that's awesome. There are some people going, oh, there's some people who went back through all my tweets over the years and said, oh, you could, I said, and I only responded to one of them. I said, listen, criticize the president, mock him, make fun, please do. Lose your collective shit like you're doing? No, we didn't do that under him. So what I would say to the Never Trump people is, one, take a deep breath, man. It's going to change. And it's, you know, the other thing, when Obama beat us, we weren't calling for, you know, let's get rid of the electoral college. Let's just destroy everything.
I mean, some people did, but those are the loonies of the right. And we're like, no, hold on there. Yeah. We didn't turn it into a party platform. We didn't. No, and the beauty of, we're going to spend every single day from here on out to try and remove him from office.
No, we didn't do
First
that.
off, that's a big thing. Yeah, I didn't vote for him. I served under him. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't do anything. Right. I didn't do anything stupid. And at the end of the day, he's still the commander in chief.
I didn't put hashtag resist in my bio because I'm not a fucking child.
And that's the other thing. Like, life moved on. I continue to live my life. Some people have it has consumed them.
It really has.
It's consumed them. He is, as you said, he is a thin-skinned, egomaniacal politician.
Right.
He should not matter in your life. He really shouldn't.
No. He's a carnival barker. I know exactly what he is. But as long as he gives me the things I want.
I like carnivals, though. It's going to be fun.
And by the way, and carnivals are fun. Like his epic troll. I mean, he's like an 8th grader, but it's so brilliant because it's also exposed forces in the country that smart people knew where they were and how they were allied. But for a lot of people who weren't hip to this, he's really shown in stark contrast how fucked up the media is. How really left-wing they are. And I would take them more seriously in their critique of Trump if they hadn't filleted President Obama for 8 years. You know, so you don't get to
stop.
You don't do that for 8 years and then come in here and go, I stand. No, you're not, because you're full of crap. And there are people who I've talked to them. I'm like, listen, I get it. You're a left-wing person. Does it bother you that the IRS did what it did? Well, yeah. It shouldn't matter what side you're on. If the IRS can do that to anybody, they'll do it to you. And if you're cool with the FBI and the CIA, the Department of Justice doing the shit they've been doing the last few years, we really have no conversation to talk about.
Listen,
I can't take you seriously if that doesn't bother you because Trump sucks.
The one thing that he has done, and I think we should all be grateful for, is he has exposed how powerful the bureaucracy is. Like, I was a political science student. You learn freshman year political science, you have the executive, you have the legislature, and you have the judiciary. There's a 4th branch of government, the bureaucracy, and they are the most powerful branch of government. You learn that. I learned that from a super hippie. I mean, I haven't seen the professor in years, but I could never imagine him like totally like losing his mind over the political process of America. But there's no way he'd be like, I'm voting for Donald Trump. But like he himself was like, back in 2008.
Wow.
This is a weird development in the American Republic. Like, we have this unelected 4th branch of government.
That's what it is. They're unelected.
These are just career bureaucrats, and they wield an ungodly amount of power. And it's weird. It's weird.
It's weird. And it's not the way it's supposed to be. And it really is. anybody of good faith that wants to stay free should not be cool with that. I mean, it's funny because the left used to always be the ones who questioned, understandably so, the man. Yeah. And now they kind of are the man. And when you see how are these really Democrats, how are they cool with what the FBI did? Take Trump out of the equation. Take him out. For whatever you hate about him, that's fine. If you can look me in the eye and tell me what the FBI just got caught doing, 17 things that they broke. Sure, we can't prove their intent, but it doesn't matter. We do know the intent. We know the intent.
We know they
just like. And by the way, it was the same thing they did when Comey came out a couple of years ago. I live at the beach. I came in to watch Comey's testimony because I thought, oh, let's see how this goes. And it started off where he was like the things he was naming. I was like, oh crap, dude! If I did any of that.
Oh, with the Hillary thing.
With Hillary
laying out.
It's the same thing.
I was listening. I was like, oh my god. They're going to do it. They're going to nail her against the wall.
And then he stops. At the end. He goes, but we really couldn't find any proof of intent. And it's the same thing we see now with what's going on with the FBI. They can't prove the intent. Well, okay. If I'm driving 75 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone and the cop pulls me over and he goes, hey, son, do you know it's 55 miles an hour? I go, no, I didn't. He goes, well, you're doing 75. Well, that's not what I intended to do. Okay, you're free to go. I mean, so when Comey said I can't prove intent for things that this woman did, that if you and I did them, we'd lose our security clearance, probably go to Leavenworth, and she walked away. And now the FBI did things that are clearly sketchy and outside the pale, multiple times. And by none of those mistakes ever went in Trump's favor, right? They all went in one direction.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no intent. But my point is, how could you be cool with that? Any citizen of a free republic should not be cool.
They're not, because they're going to say, well, this is all – they view it through the lens of the Trump presidency. And then they go, well, then Trump's saying, you know, all these people they're good public servants and they serve the country. And that's true. Like your average FBI field agent is not wrapped up in what happened with the
No, they're just doing their thing.
They're doing their job.
Yeah.
But if you were in any sort of position of power with the Federal Bureau of Investigation over the last couple of years, holy shit.
Oh my God, dude.
Like, first off, like, that's an embarrassment to the agency. Like the FBI was supposed to be like the premier law enforcement agency that was totally above. And that was the idea. Like the Bureau would be above politics.
They're the G-men, dude. They're the good guys.
Exactly. Top men, Terry. Top men.
Yeah, the damage that these guys have done, whether they want to admit it now or not, is really significant. And same with what Brennan did. And same with what Brennan did with the CIA.
What he did to the IC, yeah. And honestly, and then because guys like you and I, like we respected, like we growing up. Oh, the G-men, like those guys were badass. Like these are the guys that hunted down gangsters and.
I'll tell you a quick story about the FBI though, and this is funny.
Please.
So when the war kicked off, and I was I wanted to get back in, right, some way. I was like, okay. Then I thought, well, you know, dude, I have a degree. I speak a couple languages. I was a paramedic. Blah blah blah. I was in the SIF. I was I did all. I applied to the FBI, right? I thought, you know, I applied to the FBI, but I talked to my old team sergeant, and he even said to me, he goes, here's what he said. I said, I'm thinking about, you know, doing SF Guard or FBI. He goes, yeah, I'm not gonna say his name because he goes, those guys are not like us, Terry. They're fucking nerds and they're not like us. They don't think the way team guys do. I go, really? He goes, yeah, trust me. He goes, you don't want to go there. And so I ended up going to Guard SF. But funny story, I ended up could not get in touch with any human being. I submitted everything I needed for the FBI. I forget how long it took me. I have it saved somewhere because it was so fantastic. All the things this is right after 9/11, right? Oh my God, right? Yeah. I have all this, you know, this combat shit, blah, 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 all this. And I get a form letter back from the FBI that said, thank you for your interest in the Federal Bureau investigation. Let us know if, you know, any of your skills change. That was it. And I thought,
nerds.
What's a motherfucker got to do to get with the FBI? Like, I have no criminal record. I guess my point is, you know, we'll slag on them now, but like, there's good guys in every organization. But man, they have been so hammered by their really shitty leadership. And that's another thing. You said it the best. Trump's greatest gift was to expose all of this inadvertently, because he wasn't even supposed to win the election.
No.
Right? So we would have never known how bad it was if he didn't get elected. It would have all been swept under the rug. Everybody would have been where they were, and not a word would have been
Well, we
done.
knew the text messages. They're like, oh, there's no way this is going to work. But then things started looking bad, and they're like,
Right.
oh, we need an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the Steele dossier.
Right.
That's our insurance policy.
But we can't prove it. But we can't prove intent. And you ignorant guys talking about a deep state. That's another thing. I get guys in our community, and they just go, "Oh yeah, deep state." I'm like, you can call it whatever you want, but if you're telling me, like you just said, Nick, there's this unelected bureaucracy, this machine that just and it's there. You can go ahead and act like it's not there, but it really is there, and it's not Alex Jones conspiracy theory. It's out of control, man, and the power they wield over our lives. And they get to wield that power using the money we pay them for taxes. Like we pay them to fuck us over. We pay them. We pay the FBI. We pay the FBI a lot of money to try to take the election from us. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And then, they didn't like the results. Stupid.
I didn't like the results in 2008.
Those stupid rubes chose poorly in 2016. We can fix it. Let's start a 3-year impeachment process.
And I think this is going to backfire on them.
It already has, though, politically.
Yeah.
Politically. Look at the number. Look at the polling numbers for independent voters. Those numbers swung like 16% in terms of Trump's favorability in independent voters. Literally the most important voting bloc in America.
And even if you sort of cast off the polls, because I predicted Trump's victory. I was on Greg Gutfeld's show about a month before the election, and he was like, so predictions. I go, Trump's gonna win it. And he looked at me like I was an idiot. He goes, no way. I go, you wait, dude. I said, I don't live in New York or LA. I live in North Carolina. I was traveling a lot to Arizona, filming a gun site and stuff like that. And I said, there's a vibe in the country right now where people are tired of being called misogynist, bigoted, Islamophobic idiots because we don't think the way they do. And Trump is hitting on that. And so election night, fast forward to election night, my dad had gone to bed. I was watching with my mom, and I was flicking forth between MSNBC, CNN, and Fox. And I forget what time I looked at my mom and go, God, he's gonna fucking win this. I texted Gutfeld. I said, told you. I mean, I don't think he even hit send. He wrote me back, you're coming on this Friday. So he brought me back up. And the first thing he said was, all right, go ahead and gloat. I go, I'm not going to gloat because I'm not very smart. That was the vibe. Trump was a negation of a lot of this stuff where we were told this is the way it's going to be. Hillary is the queen and you're going to take it. And I think America still has, even though it's been trying to be beaten out of us by certain institutions, a lot of Americans still have a very rebellious streak. Like we really don't like to be told what to do. That is kind of in our culture where there was no peasant class in the United States. Right. Yeah. So like we don't do well with people telling us to shut up and obey. We
went to war with the sole world power over like a 4% tax.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're like, you know what, this would be a good idea. And these guys are like, yeah, the odds of winning are literally nothing, and we're definitely going to hang if we lose over 4%.
Right, and it hung on a thread, and it was hanging on a thread, dude. Like the Continental Army got crushed. Yes.
For a long time, it was on a thread. Like it was not looking good.
It was bad, man.
I'm still convinced Benedict Arnold. I'm still convinced. I'm a history nerd. I'm still convinced he was just like, oh, shit. I don't like how things are looking. Like people go into what motivated Benedict Arnold to defect.
That's interesting.
I think he was just like, oh shit, like,
this is it.
This is not looking good. I better get the hell out while the getting's good.
You kind of can't blame him in a way, and that's an interesting part of our history that I know. I suspect you know more than me, but I think like the revolutionary that time period. That colonial time is really interesting. I also really don't know. I mean, again, probably no more than the average person because most average people don't know anything about it. But I don't know nearly enough as I should about the Civil War. I don't really know as much as I should about World War One. I know World War II, I've read quite a bit about Vietnam. And of course, we've been fighting in these ones, but I mean, like, you can never learn enough, right? And I think every time I read books about any conflict, I'm like, fuck, I wish I'd read this earlier, man, because there's always lessons. There's always things you go,
lessons.
How did we not see that,
I mean, it's so cliche to say, oh, those who don't study history are bound to repeat it. But it's so true.
Yeah,
it's
man.
so true. And we've kind of moved away. We don't teach history anymore in schools. No, what they do is they do like these. I was just talking to somebody about this. They're like, they do these blocks. They're like, oh, we're going to do world cultures. Like, it's not history. It's not like, oh, let's talk about the time that the Aztecs decimated every other indigenous population on the continent, raped and pillaged their way up and down Central America. And by the way, they cut out the beating hearts out of their live victims to appease their gods. Like, first off, totally badass. Like, what kid doesn't want to go like, oh snap, that's awesome,
right?
But like, everything is whitewashed. Everything is just watered down to fit this ridiculous concept of education nowadays. Like, we're not teaching kids this shit. And what's going to happen? What happens when Gen Z are the ones running for office, and they don't know how the world works? They'll definitely be a little more worldly than your generation and even mine, because they're like this. They're the first generation. My generation grew up with the internet. They were born into it. Like, the world's a very small place for them. But that's a good point. Yeah, they only know the here and now. Like, because they're not being taught. They're not being taught what happened before. Like, holy shit. I mean, how are we going to avoid another, like, Afghanistan? Like, when I think Gen Z is the president, how are they going to know that if they haven't studied it?
Well, it's fun. Well, speaking about the whole internet thing too, I was in the last conflict where there was no internet. I was in the last conflict where you would wait for the mailbag and you would get letters from your girlfriend sprayed with perfume. There was no emails. It was actually pretty cool too. There's a coolness to it, and everything comes with a price, dude. Like, in a way, I think it's sometimes, in a way, it can be harder for guys to be downrange, to be plugged into their families 24/7, because that can be very distracting.
It can be, yeah.
Especially if bad stuff's going on. I mean, again, there's good and bad about all of it. But, talking to younger people, even my nephew and stuff, and my niece and people I know have kids, teenagers and stuff, and I'm surprised. I try not to be judgmental, but I'm surprised how much they don't know. So the internet is given an accessibility to information that, dude, it's hard to get your head around it, what you can actually just go boom and find. But with that accessibility, maybe has come some laziness, and also they just don't seem that interested in it. Like, I was asking my nephew about some history stuff, and it was just like, I was like, did you? No, nothing. And it's not, again, it's not a critique on his intelligence, but like you said, it's really not being taught. And I think I was a huge history geek in high school. I mean, again, I was more of a geek. I was a geek anyway, but I mean, like, I think when you start throwing that stuff away for whatever current societal more you're going through, you will pay the price for that. You're going to pay the price for that, because it will. I never get tired of reading history books and about, oh my God, I had no idea they thought that way, or that's what happened. And I don't know, man. I feel like people could potentially be smarter. And I bet there's a group of people that have taken this the right way and are actually really getting it. But I think, with humans tending to be lazy creatures that we are, I think it's actually, for the most people, it's made them tech savvy and I can push buttons way, but they're not that smart, dude. They don't seem that learning.
There's something cathartic about pursuing knowledge. Like, I'm going to pursue knowledge in this book. If you don't have to pursue it, like, seriously, if I pull up my phone and be like, oh, I want to learn something.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
that's right, true. There. But if you don't want to learn it, like, or if you say, why do I need to learn it? Like,
that's another thing too. Why do I need to learn it? I'm like,
well, first off, like, listen, I literally just wrote a piece regarding these Afghanistan papers. I don't know if it'll be published or not. I submitted it. I didn't go into the content of the Afghanistan papers because that shit's been done ad nauseum. It has. Everybody's been picking those apart.
You got to send it to me, man.
I will.
Yeah.
What I wrote about was how is it possible that the Pentagon paper, or I'm sorry, the Afghanistan papers are viewed as this bombshell report? Because if you had paid attention, just for a second over the past 18 years,
right,
anybody could have said,
it was right there. Yeah.
Maybe Afghanistan isn't going as well as it's being portrayed.
Right.
But all of a sudden, the Washington Post has a Freedom of Information Act request. They drop it. They finally come back, and they're like, oh, my God. And then everybody else is like, oh, my God. And I'm sitting here going, how is it possible that this could shock Americans? What
You're right.
This?
That's a good point. That's actually, I look forward to reading that because you're right. Because if even the most casual observer who thought more than just like flicked on a screen, you would think, man, this is really dragging on, or we just lost another guy. Like, shouldn't that make you go, wait a minute, what's happening? Like, for us, it's personal, so we're kind of the wrong guys to ask. But I mean, because for most people, what happened with the war, and is that because for most people it became just a news story. So you'd come in, eventually people are just like, oh man, they lost a Green Beret in Afghanistan. Hey, what's for dinner? So unless you're connected to us personally, like if it's a relative or a friend or your husband or something like that, there's really most people in the country don't actually have skin in this game.
No, and it's very easy for them to keep living their lives the way they do,
which is what we want. But in a way, I need you to pay attention.
Yeah, we lost a little bit of that. It's funny because World War I, World War II, people were so far removed from the battlefields.
Yeah,
like, seriously, news came from the front in a series of dots and dashes. That was what it was. It came via telegram, Morse code.
Right.
And now you can turn on Netflix right now. If you go to your television, hit Netflix, there's about a dozen phenomenal documentaries that are real and gritty about the Afghanistan or the war in Afghanistan, and it's shot in high definition. And you could see, that's probably as close as anybody is ever going to get to war. You can watch this shit.
Right.
But even though it's accessible, even though it's there, nobody's reaching for it. And so it just became
a story. It's just a story. Like I tell people, it's a news story. And it's interesting because back in World War II, everybody had somebody over there, right? So you had an uncle, a brother, your husband. The country was rationing things like tinfoil and butter and so there was a nationwide effort to beat the Japs and the Germans, right? And it was like, everybody was involved and a lot of people sacrificed. There was civilian defense, all this kind of stuff.
We mobilized our economy to build tanks and bullets and the country mobilized. Like
the whole country did, right?
Rosie the Riveter was hot, man. She was hot. Everybody loved Rosie.
She was hot. How could you not dig that? And so everybody was involved, and then guys came back and they built the country and all that kind of stuff. We're like a weird, and then the Korean guys, everybody forgot about them. They got shit on. They were not prepared after World War II. That we walked into that. Oh my God. And then Vietnam, all political, the same. And the Pentagon papers, Pentagon, I keep calling that too now. The Afghanistan papers, I said the other day, if you're interested in reading about this is nothing new. Again, reading some history would have brought you right to this, because if you read like, have you ever read About Face by Colonel Hackworth?
I have.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing that happened in Vietnam. And don't think it didn't happen in all the wars before that. And I just look at it, but our generation that's been fighting this, the tail end boomers and you young studs, we are whatever percentage of the population we are, this is it. This is this big. And then even take that small amount, those are the real combat guys, right?
And I actually, I wrote that in this piece, and I'll send it to you as soon as we hang up.
I can't wait.
Less than 1% of the population wears uniform.
Right.
And only a fraction of that 1% are the ones that are engaged in combat.
That are actually slinging it. And what's going to happen to us, I heard this guy say this a while back, and I can't remember where I was because, again, I'm old, but he was a veteran, and he had talked about, he goes, one of the things I'm concerned about, and he had this group that was trying to, is that our stories, our kind of generation will just eventually fade away in a way that the World War II guys didn't, because there were so many of them and the country was so involved and invested in their success because it was their success, that because we're so a small amount of the country and we're so separate from them, we're so divorced from that actual life, that our experience as time goes on, because it was already a small amount of people with not many people involved in it, even peripherally, it just kind of goes away. It just kind of goes, and he's kind of right, you know, he's kind of right.
Add the ingredient of the fact that we fought unpopular wars. Like,
yes,
like you just sprinkle that on, and I think you're 100% right. We're in serious danger of losing a lot of stories, a lot of important stories that deserve to be heard, just like World War II.
And I think
you and I have talked before. You and I have discussed it before. Like, that civilian military divide is insurmountable. It's never coming back. It will never go back to World War II.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So now we've created this, like, and I've called it a Praetorian class. Like, it's in and of itself, it's a caste. It's totally devoid of the rest of society, because they don't have anything in common. They don't have any skin in the game.
No.
And there are some good things to that too.
Well, there is. You know, the other thing is too, I'm not sure I would want a conscript army, because again, that would just fuck us up, right? So it's like people are like, everyone needs to be drafted. I'm like, I don't know if that's the right answer.
I don't want to share a foxhole with somebody that doesn't want to be there.
No, and because too is most of those people would be out in 2 years. They have they don't want to be there. At least the people in the military now want to be there. Most of them, I think, and especially the guys doing the fighting and the killing. They definitely pick that. And that's another dirty secret too. Let's just be honest. Guys like you and I, we like the fight. We really do. And so it's
a hell of a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. And it touches something in our sort of really early humanity that we connect with. And society will do well to find a place for people like us, because we can also be very destructive influences back in a normal society. So a society, this is something I was thinking about writing actually a book about, is that the kind of a warrior culture thing, where it's good to have these kind of guys, but don't make any mistake. I didn't join the army because America rah rah. I just wanted to be that guy in that picture that just got done cheating death and he's fucking smiling about it. And it's almost everything that's happening right now is kind of culturally and politically and everything. It seems to me it's kind of, this is almost the way it had to go, because you have this rapid, ascension of American culture. And it was based on, again, the people who want to destroy that are not paying attention, because like what got us to this point, it wasn't the things that you want to do. That would bring us another way. But we get to this point, and so we're now a victim of our success. We're very well fed. We're generally very safe. There's always bad and good. There's always people who haves and have-nots. But if you think about the short amount of time America has been around, the fucking power we're able to wield, and we could even wield a lot more. We're pretty nice about it. But because of that, it always is going to turn in on itself, and it's the seeds of its own destruction are already there. So when people say, will America, get through it? I'm like, I don't know. It will be different. It's going to be different. It has to be different.
And even in that small window of the history of humanity, and this the most peaceful period in human history and things like that, even within that own small window, we're further spoiled, because even in this current window, there are a whole lot of shittier places on Earth. Even developed countries have rolling blackouts. How well do you think your average 14-year-old would do without their phone and internet access for about 5-6 hours? Not well.
They'd freak out. Man. Dude, you can, if you're being chased by lions or you're worried about waking up dead, you're not worried about transgender bathrooms.
No.
You're not worried about cultural appropriation. You're not worried about the kind of shit that people are navel gazing with now. So in a way, like I said, this is kind of all the way it was supposed to go. You have this massive success, this massive kind of overall economic wealth and power and just freedom. And it's just going to always turn it on itself. And so, luckily I'll be dead, but you might have some Red Dawn years ahead of you, Nick.
Oh God. I call Swayze. I call him. I get to be him. I don't care what anybody else says. He's gone, man. So it's on me to be.
He was so hot. He was so hot.
God, that hair. God,
so hot. So fantastic.
Goddamn All-American hero. And that was the Pacific Northwest, man. I don't know if the Pacific Northwest would fare so well nowadays.
You know what? For all the people the people that you see are the ones you see. But I think there's always a lot of people that are out there that you don't hear from that will be just fine.
I mean, once they move a little further inland, like once you hit like
you get into the what I'm saying is you get into the woods a little bit.
Up there, you'll probably find. But definitely, like once you hit like I think Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, you're in for a fight, guy. You're in for a fight.
It's not going to work well for you. And that's I go to New York to do stuff, and it's like, and I'm originally from it. I was born in New York City. I could never live there again. I lived there a lot, but I could never go back again because I don't like being around. I just don't find it's just not cool anymore. I just don't really dig it. Like I like right out back, right behind me there. I walk out in a minute, and the moon is over the fucking ocean, bro. I mean, come on. I got lucky,
man. Like honestly, I like going to New York City for very short periods of time. Yeah. But I start feeling like a trapped rat. Like people just stack, like on top of another. I don't know how you can live. I can't breathe in the city. Like I
lived there for years, dude. I lived there even after the war. I mean, I lived there from 97. I lived in Manhattan from 97 to like 2004 maybe. And then, then I moved to Beacon, New York, which is up on the Hudson River. And, I got married. I'm not married anymore, but we had a house up there, and it was about an hour and 15 minutes north of the city, which is cool. I lived right at the base of this. It was really, Hudson Valley is really beautiful, but going back in the city now just makes me kind of, I don't know, I get kind of edgy and not like paranoid, fucking flashback thing. I just like, this is not interesting to me anymore. And maybe it's the old man thing. And it's also just, I'm just spoiled now. Like I can't go back.
Yeah. You have some breathing room. That's all.
Dude, how long have we been talking? People there's no one listening to us anymore.
Well, nobody's listening right now. It'll go up tonight, but an hour and a half, man. And it flew by. That's because you're just such an interesting guy, man. This is all you.
No, Nick. I think we have to give each other some credit. Give ourselves.
All right, we'll give each other a little bit of credit.
A little bit of credit.
Well, let's circle around and give each other credit.
We'll just give each other credit. Here's credit for you. And I really hope, in my heart of hearts, Nick, I hope you're able to find a friend in that office.
Thanks, guy. Thanks,
buddy. That bothers me, dude. That bothers me. That really fucking bums me out.
Oh, man. And I'm going to go in the office tomorrow, and I'm just going to, hey, guys. And they're just going to ignore me. And I'm going to tell them. I said, my friend Terry says that you should be my friend.
And he says that he wanted me to ask you about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules or Call of Cthulhu. Get on it.
Cthulhu, the Ocean Lord. That I know.
Oh, dude, I love H.P. Lovecraft. I'm like one of the weirdest people. I love that. I love that writer. I love him. I think Red wrote like a while back, he was saying something about, and I didn't respond because my feelings were hurt so bad. He said like H.P. Lovecraft is really overrated. I was like, oh, Red, no.
That's because he like went to that. No.
It's a different kind of writing, but
he's got questionable taste in a couple of different things. You know he carries an M&P shield.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Boomer Gat for sure. Even more so than a 1911.
We're all quirky dudes. That's for sure. But I miss it, right? I mean, like I'm glad you're still in. I miss hanging out with guys like you. That's what because it's so much fun. And that's what I miss the most, and nothing will beat that, nothing can beat that. So the challenge for someone like me getting out is to find some, raison d'etre, some reason to get up in the morning. And I've struggled with it. I got lucky though. Like right when I was retiring is when I just got the first season of Hollywood Weapons. So I walked into a job and, a film crew is actually is a team too. And the people who work on it are really, really cool. Like we have so much fun. So I got lucky, I got lucky and I had all my limbs and I was a mostly functioning member, but I mean, like it's hard to get out. I don't envy you when you do because you'll miss it. But I guess that's the thing I miss the most. It was the best decision I ever could. And one more thing about it. So I've been out for 4.5 years, war starts. I came back from the first deployment with 19th Group, and we came back to Bragg actually, and my mom and dad were there. And my mom said to me, she goes, "Wow, I haven't seen you look this happy in a long time." And I looked at her, I said, I'm back with the dudes I love. You know, because I tell people, why do you do it? It's because of love. Love is not an emotion for us. It's actually a choice, right? So, you know, we love our family. We love our friends. And, but we love each other more than we love each other more than we love ourselves. I love my country. I love my family, but I love the guy to my left and right more because that's the choice, right? That's where the hands go in the middle. Like, we're going to live or we're going to die. And that's just something that it cannot be recreated. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I opened that book between my junior and senior years at college and saw the pictures of those guys. Right?
Yeah.
That's what brought me to that.
It is. I think honestly, I think that pulls most like SF dudes is. I mean, yeah, you need that patriotism, and yes, you need that love for country and everything. But again, like you can love your country and do anything else in the military. There is a draw. There's a pull.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was a little, I'm younger, so yeah, you had the McAfee Saw guys with the sweet tiger stripe, but also for me, like when I opened up my textbooks, I saw the Scud Hunters in
Iraq.
Desert Storm, like, and those guys were like
legends.
Those guys were doing like those long range desert
legends
patrols, and they were.
We had those guys. We had some of those guys. We had one of those guys that got caught on that patrol. I forget his name. He was a commo guy. He came and spoke to us in the Q course. I was like, you know, we walk among. That's another thing too in our community is that we walk among legends.
We do.
Like you're literally right. Like you're literally, you know, there's certain guys that you're with that you're like, that motherfucker is a legend, like a legitimate legend in a group of guys that are already kind of legendary. So it's an honor, right? Like you're, holy fuck, I'm going to hang out with this guy. Yeah. You know, and there's legends right now. There's legends right now in special forces and other units and but like there's just walking around like fucking legends. And we're the only ones who really know it.
Yeah. And then, and you know, some of those guys are legends, you know, in the typical definition of what makes somebody legendary, but some of them are legends only within the regiment, like only within the special.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, like, I'm talking about those guys.
I had an instructor when I was in language school, when I went through language schools at the very end, 6 months at the very end. And so you were assigned this TAC who was basically the green suitor in charge because your instructors were all civilians.
Civilians, right. Yeah, that's actually that. What I went through way back when, I think it's all different now, but our language, I had 6 months of language after when the Q course was done. Right.
Okay. I think that's how it is now, actually. I think you get your beret but anyways. So this guy, this TAC, he was, I'm not gonna say his name. He was a legend because he had a knife kill in Afghanistan. Like he's like the guy killed a Taliban fighter with a knife. Like
you're automatically a legend.
Like he went into a house, his gun went down, his rifle went down, and he's like, you know what? I don't feel like going for the pistol. I'm going right for the knife. Like this guy's right here. And like you're like, oh man, like that's hardcore, man. Like and that was like the same time like The Dark Knight came out too, right?
Yeah.
And the Joker's so like, funny. You see all the little things, and so we're all just like looking at like, holy shit, dude! Like this
legends,
guy
man.
He just watched the life drain out of this dude's
eyes.
Legend.
It's a legend.
Total legend. And like I said, like who's gonna know that outside the regiment? But
no one will know. Yeah, but and even guys that have saved other dudes, and guys that have been so brave when the shit really was bad. And you know the other thing is in our unit too, in our world, that goes before you. So again, you can't really hide. So like guys like that, when they're around, there's almost like a little myth around them. Like this guy, you know what this guy did. If you weren't there personally, you'll find out. It will come, and you'll be like,
my current team. I'm new. I'm still fairly new to the Guard.
Right.
Hey man, there's a dude who and it was well known outside.
Right.
Past actions, incredibly heroic, absolutely 100% stupid. That was a stupid thing he did, but it was incredibly heroic and saved a bunch of dudes' lives.
Right.
Right. And you kind of walk into that and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go to combat with that dude. I'll go to war with that guy any day. Like,
that's another thing. So not only do we go to a workplace where guys will kill and die for us, we walk among guys that are like, holy crap, man. I mean, they write movies about people like that, and you're actually next to them. So it's pretty great, actually.
It is, and it's a phenomenal organization when you can say there's always somebody better than you. Who's got
always somebody better than you?
There's always somebody better than you.
There's always somebody.
Somebody's going to outshoot you, out PT you, out ruck you, out language you.
Always.
And so, like you said, there's peer pressure. Like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like it's shit or get off the pot. Like you better keep up.
Yeah, and you're not, and some things you're better at than others. And like you said, there's someone always better than you, and also you have to understand. You'll learn this. I have learned it, that the regiment will always leave you for a younger man. Like you will always expire, and the unit will continue. So eventually you will have to leave. You will walk away. She's a cruel mistress, dude. You gave her everything. You gave this mistress everything. You gave the regiment everything, and you leave and you have a plaque, basically, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or several things like that. But in a way, though, you're gone. Like it's moved on. It's moved on.
She had the old bull. Now she wants the young calf.
Yeah, and you're gone, dude. So now you have to find a way to make peace with that, and then create a new life. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, and we'll see. There's a lot of.
I think you're crushing it. And honestly, like if you want somebody on the team, listen, talk to Outdoor Channel. I would run a mean craft services table. I would. All your favorites, little finger foods.
We make those little cookies I like.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like
I'll put in a good word. I'll put in a good word for you, Nick.
Yeah, I didn't go to like culinary school or anything, but
you don't need that. It's real world shit.
No, you can learn anything on the internet now.
So who's next? Who are you going to interview next? Who's next?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't have anybody's schedule. I guess I don't always interview people. Sometimes, and it's way easier when it's with somebody, because when I just sit here and I talk to this camera for 30 to 45 minutes, it's weird, man. Like you should talk. Have you talked to Clay yet? Clay Martin? No, I need to get him on.
Get him on.
Because I literally have his books on their way here.
They're great.
Like, I can't wait.
He's a really good writer, dude. You're gonna love his work.
Well, I read like the other stuff that he writes. Like, he writes like gear reviews, and I'm like, this guy can actually write. Like, even though it's like technical professional writing, like it's good. Like, so I'm
wait till you read his fiction, because it's actually, when I read Sword of the Caliphate, I actually was pissed, because like I had to put it down. I was like, fuck, I don't want to put this book down. It was really that interesting. So it's, he's an SF guy. So Clay, by the way, we're totally fucking sucking your dick now. So it's like, if
Clay, we love you, dude.
But he's really talented. And again, I was so happy to read his stuff, because again, he's a brother, but he's a weapons guy. And he's going to become a very, very good writer.
Well, he's actually an Echo. He's a comms guy.
I thought he was a weapons guy, wasn't he?
No, he's a comms guy.
Oh, that's shame on me then. I thought he was a Bravo.
Well, I mean, in a previous life, he was a Marine Scout sniper.
That's right. So, I mean, he was a Marine.
Like, he got into the whole gun thing and the long gun and long gun shooting.
I forgot he was an Echo. I totally. Well, anyway, that's another guy you should talk to, because
Echo Master Race. I'm just saying,
Well, if you're a Delta, I tell people, if you're an 18 Delta, which is the medic, if you're an 18 Delta in Special Forces, it just means one thing: you're just very comfortable touching naked guys.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
The first Delta on my team, and he passed away last year. It was a bad thing. Oh, but man. He was so comfortable with it too. He was like all deltas are.
We're all a little weird.
We received our mission brief for the last deployment I did with 5th Group, and battalion commander's coming in, and Joe just stripped naked, and he just stood in the corner of the team room while we received a mission brief about what we were going to do in Syria. And he was stark naked. We had the attachments in there too. Like we had some 25 series commo kid.
Good
and
God.
Like a generator mechanic. And Joe's coming up behind him, and he's just oh man,
so good. So well, yeah, something happens to us in that course for sure.
I don't know what it is, but yeah, he was always very comfortable being naked and not, there was no shyness when it came time
yeah,
to
you can't
drop your pants. Let's see what's going on.
Dude, when I have a guy come up to me, I got to the point where I got, hey Terry, can I ask you something? I'm already getting down on my knees because I know I'm going to be checking it. I know it's going to be something down there.
Are you reaching for that penicillin?
I'm already going for. Oh, dude, I got stories, but yeah, that's another thing. Well, man, let's talk again sometime, bro.
Absolutely. This is so much fun. It is. It's fun with you. It's easy. So next time we'll. I want to hear some of your medic stories.
I have some good ones.
Yeah. I don't doubt it.
I have some good ones. Yeah, we all got stories, man. Good. We do. Good SF guys can tell good stories too.
Oh man, yes we can. Terry, thanks so much, brother. It was fun. We'll do it again.
Yeah, man. I keep doing this too, man. Keep getting guys from our community and other guys too. I mean, I have some guys I'm gonna have to send your way, and that I think you'll find interesting that you probably like to talk to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Really. We'll talk.
I love you, man. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, buddy?
Take it easy.
See ya.